you feel real cool posing with your AR before you have to shoot someone with it.
We're the Armed Attorneys. Today we're talking about why you shouldn't post pictures of your guns online. And the questions we're going to be answering are, can these be self-incriminating? Can these photographs be used in court? Why might they be making you a target for criminals? And the kind of political considerations. But to kick things off and before we get started, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. And to start the conversation, Emily, to answer that first question, can these guns, photos of your guns online, people posting their tactical gear, can that be self-incriminating?
Yes, is the short answer. Show over. Yes, no, but
Roll
really,
credits.
Honestly though, we've had it happen in two different ways with clients. We've had clients who actually have been arrested and charged based upon things they have posted on Facebook,
Yep.
right? That maybe triggers an investigation to happen. And then also we've had clients who have had to be in self-defense situations who, one of the first things those investigators are going to do is pull your Facebook, pull your social media, see what kind of stuff you've been posting. Those pictures, once you feel real cool posing with your AR before you have to shoot someone with it. After you have to shoot someone with it, those pictures are not as appealing anymore. And the prosecutor's office, they want to be able to wave them in front of a jury.
Yeah, and so that answers that second question. Can they be used in court? The answer to that one is also yes. Now, where this comes up in trial, trials are usually bifurcated. They're usually broken into stages in most states. Mm-hmm. But that first initial kind of half of a trial is, did the person commit the act in question or did they not? And, your things that happened before or maybe things that happened afterward, most courts are going to say that material is irrelevant to whether, the incident in question actually happened.
Yeah. I mean, rarely it goes to like motive or modus operandi, things like that, but mostly not.
Right. Yeah. But, let's say it doesn't, most of the time it won't come in trial, to Emily's point. But if a person is found guilty, well, now it's almost like a photo album. You get to bring in that person's whole life history. Are they a member of the community? Are they a gun nut, which is what they're going to try to do with those types of photographs. And at that point, relevancy kind of goes out the window and they're going to use it against you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can think of one specific example, and luckily this case ended up not going to trial. But part of what we got in discovery was all of these photo dumps from the DA's office of the client, again, posing with a variety of different firearms he owned, posing with his 3% patches, all sorts of things that they were just itching to be able to use to show the jury, not he really had to defend himself by shooting this guy in the way that he did, but he's a gun maniac and he's a lunatic and look at all of our proof.
Yes, and we saw this come up in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, mm-hmm. and we saw it because it was outside the presence of the jury, and the jury didn't get to see this material, but you better believe if Kyle was convicted in that case, they would have brought in all that material that we saw.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our third question is, how could this be used for criminal purposes? What are criminals looking at when they see these pictures?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's, and you think, oh, well, I'm not going to be targeted by criminals on Facebook. Yes, you are. Plus, your friend's nephew who you haven't thought about in years, but you're friends with on Facebook and who's recently developed a meth habit, he's going to see that you own a bunch of firearms. And then maybe, let's say he sees that you leave for vacation because you post about, my parents post about their vacations all the time on Facebook. And I'm like, stop, guys, because that's just generally a bad idea as well, right? Don't let the general public know you're leaving your house.
Right.
But yes, absolutely. I mean, that makes me very, very nervous.
Yeah, and you don't want to be a target for theft. So maybe you take one of the things out of the equation. Don't post when you're on vacation. I would never do that anyway, and you shouldn't do that. Hopefully you don't. But we don't like seeing that serve up, hey, here's all my valuable personal property. I'm not there to protect it.
Exactly.
So you got to be very careful. But that brings us to our last consideration. We started this off saying, don't post your pictures of your guns online. And I know that is probably driving a whole heck of a lot of people crazy.
I've broken that rule.
Yes, no, we've all broken that rule. But it brings up a important consideration about our community. And we all know that politics are downstream from culture and what happens when we self-censor ourselves and don't post about firearms online. And I think that's an important consideration too.
Yeah, when we make something less mainstream, in part because it's not part of our general sort of everyday social dialogue anymore, I think potentially it makes the possession, the ownership of firearms begin to look more extreme, not because it is, but because, really what we're putting out there does influence the politics and the social acceptance of what's going on around us. I mean, I'll tell you, my compromise between the two, I will post pictures, when I do a sporting clay tournament, I'll post pictures with the shotguns at the tournament, things like that. My just general collection, I leave offline, but that's my personal compromise. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I do something similar. I might say great day at the range, picture of my family at the range, something like that. All of my weapons, probably not. Me using my weapons in an illegal way, which I don't do, but if I did.
Looking hard, posing in a picture.
Right. No, not doing that. But, because that stuff could come back to haunt you. But what do you think about this? If you enjoy this discussion, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and we want to hear, what do you think about whether or not you should post pictures of your guns online?
Yeah, we're interested to hear. Until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.